What is going on, people? Welcome to Comics League Dark. I got my boy JJheat here. What's up, dude?
Hello there.
General Kenobi. I love how that's pretty much our thing now. But
Kenobi!
okay, that was actually intimidating as hell. Nice job. So, and I thought this live stream starts tomorrow. No, it doesn't. Tomorrow is the New Year's Eve party with, I believe, as far as I know, all the co-hosts of Comics League. So
we'll get excited for that.
Heck yeah, we're going to be going on from 10 to 12, from 10 until however long we decide to stop this. What's up, Tep? Yep. So today's agenda for Comics League Dark, since there's not that much new stuff going on, I thought we might use this opportunity to reflect on what we got in 2022. So, Jay, while we wait for Kyd to join us, let's start with best comics of 2022.
There are a few, but I'm going to start with a smaller one. The Robin 2017 solo series. Mm-hmm. Not to be confused with Tim Drake's Robin, because that was dog shit. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I forget.
All good.
Sorry. But yeah, there was a little retreading there, but it definitely felt like a Mortal Kombat mixed with anime tournament arc, and it was an improvement for the character given what Damian Wayne was going through at the time: the death of Alfred, Batman being distant towards him, just a lot of bad stuff.
Cool.
It definitely brought Damian back to a better position, and I hate it got canceled for Dark Crisis, because Dark Crisis, it was so much of a dud. You could argue it was a corporate afterthought, but that's a separate conversation.
Hey, I enjoyed Dark Crisis.
Hey, it's good, but in the grand scheme of things, come on.
Well, let me put it this way: it at least, to a certain degree, redeemed John after the the cluster F that was his Son of Kal-El series.
If you can even call that a series.
If you even call that it, exactly. But I've read a lot of great comics this year, but a few do kind of stand out to me. Chief among them, probably, if I really had to think about right now, it's most likely what I've been going through right now. It's probably like TMNT Last Ronin and Flashpoint Beyond, which I think Flashpoint Beyond should have been the main event that they were focused on. And what's hilarious about it is that they legit spoiled Dark Crisis in Flashpoint Beyond.
Again, Dark Crisis ultimately became an afterthought because, okay, I hate to get meta here, but Dark Crisis, Infinite Frontier, and to a lesser degree Future State was just was death metal and what was essentially supposed to be 5G calling a do-over, because the deal was fired. There was no real alternative. So they just retooled what 5G was going to be in an attempt to stall time. If you were going to do that, just have Future State last the whole year. You might as well. Instead of trying to cram an entire retooling campaign into 2.5 months. Then you got to go into the context. How do we get here? Why are we going through these so much inconsistencies? And for Son of Kal-El, this is the biggest outlier out of the whole bunch. Tom Taylor got so lost in his own hype, the book just became a bunch of nonsense. Mm-hmm. And nothing against, if you like the book, that's your discretion. I love comics of all varieties, and I've seen some bad comics. But I will say this. How is Gossamer a competent hero name? I'm just saying.
Yeah, I'm like, wait, what? That was the hero name. That makes no sense. So yeah. I mean, but also, actually, I read a Tom Taylor Marvel book that was actually really dope, and it's on my list. It is Marvel's Dark Ages. Freaking dope, which further establishes to me Tom Taylor has to write Elseworld stories. That's where he excels. Elseworld.
Every bit, because he doesn't have continuity holding him back. Mm-hmm. But Marvel's more fluid with their continuity, so I think with Marvel he can get away with a lot more. Mm-hmm. But if you're going to have him with somewhere like DC or Indies where things are more consistent and more established, then yeah, definitely keep Tom Taylor on Elseworlds. because ongoings are not his strong suit. They're either going to go way off the cliff, or the pacing is going to be grounded to a halt. And to be fair, his Nightwing run was good. It just lost track at points. First, we were covering Heartless. Then we ended up with Street Mafia and Blockbuster. Thank you, Lawrence. That's what I was going to say. Yes, the Nightwing run is relatively good, but what's the best way I can say this? It's boring.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's freaking boring. Like, it doesn't really get interesting until you factor Batmite and Dick and Barbara's relationship. Outside of those two aspects, that book is boring.
Brown Destroyer brings up, I like the Superman War saga, which hell yeah.
That's actually number 3. That's actually number 3 on my top 5 list for the year.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Jared. I hate to cut. I didn't.
And he brings up Superman Up in the Sky is apparently what James Gunn is making. I saw it could be taking inspiration, but he said I read it's not bad. I liked it, but I sure hope they won't do it. They won't make another Superman Returns movie. Also, Christopher Reeve's later movies were not good. Well, yeah, of course they're not good, but that's besides the point. But the World Apocalypse saga, yeah, 100% that'd be great. And so some more books that I've started reading that I'm actually very much enjoying. The first trade of the John Byrne Man of Steel, which I like it. You can definitely see where they took inspirations for Man of Steel in the book, and particularly like in the first image. So I'm like, oh, okay, I see what you did here, Zack Snyder. I like that. Or more accurately, David Goyer. So, and honestly, here's the thing. If I have to think about it, which comics won 2023, I got to give this to DC. Even though it was a close thing with Marvel, I still think DC did better.
I would have to agree because I'm not feeling Dark Web right now. First, you're turning Ben O'Reilly into a Kane ripoff. Then you're talking about Shattered Memories. And just the pettiness at Marvel going on right now, because Peter Parker and MJ were gonna get paired up, gonna get remarried and all that, and then they completely deviated just to spite the writer because I forget the exact name, but he was one of the few who left for Substat.
Was it Tom Taylor? Not Tom Taylor. Nick Spencer.
I want to say Nick Spencer, but I could be wrong. But I want to say Nick Spencer. But it's just DC don't promote their artists enough, but Marvel really does them dirty.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. And Terry says, I hate Dark Web. It's so bad and a complete train wreck. Yep. And then Lauren says, I stopped catching up with Tom Taylor and that after the Flash team up. It was fun to read it first. Yeah. Yeah, it was Nick Spencer on Amazing Spider-Man. That's correct. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Marvel hasn't really done anything recently that's really gotten me hyped. I mean, DC has done more. Let's face it, because we have Dark Knights of Steel, we have Dark Crisis, which arguably it was pretty dope to like kill off the Justice League, only to they didn't actually kill them; they just teleported them to another location, so they didn't really kill them, despite what Pariah will tell you. But
they didn't commit to the event. Dark Crisis.
Yeah, exactly.
It should have been a self-contained story. Don't just wipe the books; just delay them. Just have.
What they could have done? How about do it as an Elseworld story and actually kill the Justice League?
But they kind of need. They were. Based on what I was saying earlier, they were kind of trying to revamp 5G and this new status quo change. But they ultimately had to drop that because Dio was fired and the whole retooling. They could have made Dark Crisis an Elseworld, but they just made the best out of a bad situation there. And yes, the Flash one was good.
It's kind of funny. Flash always is the one series where I consistently hear, for the most part, no matter what the creative team, oh, this is amazing.
And I heard a rumor off the grapevine they're trying to push Jeremy Adams off the Flash book, and Tom Taylor's trying to grab it.
Oh God. Of course,
Again, this
DC
is a
is.
rumor, so take it with a grain of salt, ladies and gentlemen.
Mm-hmm. And has anyone understood Superman being powered by cosmic powers, then nothing happens later in Dark Crisis? No, that I don't understand. Absolutely don't.
It's actually more common than you think because you don't want Superman to be too overpowered because then you go back to the Golden Age where Superman can do everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. He can pull a solar system on a chain. But yeah. So again, Tevye brings up World's Frickin' Finest by Mark Waid and Dan Moore. My God, is that amazing?
That's my number one. That's my number one for top 5, hands down.
Yeah, absolutely. I haven't personally read it yet, but from what I hear about it, it sounds freaking dope.
I highly recommend it.
I'm gonna check it out because it's first off, Dan Mora is one of my new favorite comic book artists, just based upon his variant covers for Dark Crisis, because he's got I got all 3 of these. It's like all of the Justice League ones, and I'm like, yes. And then Lawrence, in terms of non-Marvel DC comics, I'm currently going through The Last Ronin of Ninja Turtles and the Matrix comics. Yes,
okay.
From that movie. And they're actually really cool if you want a sort of an expansion on that world and that lore. It's actually really cool. So Joshua Williamson, a Robin book? Well, it's Joshua Williamson. That's why I'm so hyped for his Green Arrow. So let's move on to best movies of 2022. And I gotta be honest, and yes, it is awesome. I'm gonna tell you this. Okay, it's within the 4 years we got Gunn. I hope he could lead to a world's finest type thing. Yeah, exactly. They should. What DC needs to do is do more team up movies, not like large scale. Just have Superman and Batman have an adventure. Aquaman and Wonder Woman stop something. It's like have like a buddy cop movies. That's what they really should do and really hammer that. So the Lawrence liked The Batman, which I got to be honest, of the comic book movies that came out this year, yeah, The Batman's my number 1 favorite. Because when you look at like Thor, Love and Thunder, I'm like, there's not that much competition. If this were last year, then I'd say the Snyder Cut, obviously. But in terms of non-comic book movies, I have to say Avatar. I really enjoyed The Way of Water. And I know what Tevye is going to bring up, and I got to be honest, it's on my list too, is Battle of the Super Sons, because that was actually really enjoyable, despite the animation style. And yes, you did The Batman. What's up, dude? Man, I swear, I have the entire Justice League as my audience. Buddy Cops, yes, exactly. We need that. Don't you think, JJheat?
I agree.
And Tevye says, best movies of 2022 were for me, Batman, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Two Guns. But in all honesty, none of them beat my number 1, that's Battle of the Super Sons. I knew it. But yeah, dude, 100%, because that was a really fun movie. I definitely liked it. And let me put it this way. It's made me advocate for de-aging, even though it's not going to happen. But you know what I'm saying.
It's highly unlikely. I will give Tevye this. John's going to get shelved for about 2-3 years, and then they're just gonna maybe just keep him kind of like it's a very complicated thing because you have to see where Tom Taylor's Pity series, Adventures of Superman with John Kent's gonna end, and I feel like he's just gonna rip off the Kingdom, with the multiverse murder mystery, and the Killing Superman. So yeah, I feel like he's gonna rip off the Kingdom. He may de-age John Kent at the end, get him some brown, save face a little bit.
Do you really think Tom Taylor is gonna be that smart?
Ego aside, he has done the smart thing in the past. He has pulled us.
Well, let me put it this way: Dark Crisis actually persuaded me to give his new Superman series a shot, because before I was just gonna skip it. But John Kent has been kind of redeemed in my eyes, so I'm going to see what he does. Because first off, the plot against Ultraman, that's what Son of Kal-El should have been when it was first written. I'm like, let me put it this way. It's because it's like the chief issue, I think, with Son of Kal-El, besides the fact that the writing was so-so, it took too long to get to the point. I'm like, why am I sitting here on a romantic date? This is a Superman book.
You also got to look at it from a business side too, because like I keep saying off panel, there are such thing as shelf titles or shelf comics where they're not really there to tell a story. They're there to either promote propaganda or chase headlines. Sonic LL, at least for the most part, was a shelf title. Once Tom Taylor suddenly found out he was getting canceled, then he started actually writing a story.
Yeah.
Was there some conflict with Bendis? Excuse me, Bendix, not Bendis. My mistake. To an extent, but it was such a slow burn. It might as well have been dead on the water.
I really think it's very interesting how after Bendis' Superman run, that's when they decided to use the Bendix villain. I'm like, okay, I see what you're doing there. Caleb Lee says his favorite movies were the Batman and Dune. Yes, Dune was fantastic. I love that movie. Yes, absolutely. We have to talk about Dune once on movie night. I think it's right up Nick's alley. And then I think that Macy's going to have John fight Ultraman. Yeah, that's what it should have been. That's what it should have been. He's also bringing in Valzar, which will be really cool. I'm enjoying that. And Jane Nakamura should have been a villain from the very beginning. Yeah, because he's a terrorist.
Editorial wasn't going to let him. Even if he did want that, editorial would not have let them do that. Would not have let Tom Taylor do that.
And by the way, Caleb, yes, we need a Green Lantern movie. I would like that. And I'm still convinced that the Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern movie is underrated. Nick and I will die on that hill. Okay.
To an extent, it's okay.
It's not horrible. Let me put it's no Justice League. Let me put it that way.
There have definitely been worse films.
Yeah. And Lawrence says my favorite non-DC and Marvel comic is Godzilla versus Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Oh, that sounds dope.
It is. I remember that comic. That one was pretty good. That came out, I think, April 2022, I want to say. April, May, somewhere around there.
Thank you, Lawrence. You just earned yourself some brownie points. There you go. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is awesome. Yes. Perfectly.
In that post-credit scene, too?
Yes.
Y'all are in for a good time.
Shadow. Yes. I'm watching that now because Shadow is my favorite Sonic character, like of all time. So I'm like,
dude, spoilers.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. It's been 6 months.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, Shadow. And like, if you've been on YouTube, you've seen that clip. It's like the Henry Cavill Superman clip. You've seen it multiple times. So now about that, by the way, I want to address on that because I don't think it's entirely the end for these actors because let me put it this way, and this is assuming that James Gunn is telling the truth.
Oh, now, Ezra Miller's out. Let's call
Ezra Miller's most likely out. But in terms of the other people, in other words, the actors people actually like, what's probably going to happen if they don't reverse, which I'm still convinced that at some point they'll walk back a few of these things, but assuming they don't, they'll probably do it as an Elseworlds story because James Gunn said he's actively pursuing Elseworlds opportunities. So likely, because if it's Elseworlds and DC has enough money, they can do the original Snyder plan, like not modify it to fit in with the current movies. No, they can do they don't have to modify it at all. They can go off as actually new storyboards and everything.
Though I highly recommend, this was for a recent charity for suicide awareness or suicide prevention. I forget off the top of my head.
Are you talking about
Project Justice League?
Yes. If you haven't watched that, it's incredible. It will make you want to restore the Snyderverse, baby.
It's 45. If you got 45 minutes to spare, trust me, you won't regret it. It's worth every second.
It's the ultimate cut. They made a motion comic. The Four Nerds and the Nicotina show, all guys that I stream with all the time. They did a motion comic with original art, voice acting, and music, where they basically make an animated movie that's Justice League 2 and 3. It's amazing. And so they are going to do Elseworlds a little. I'm calling Keanu Reeves and Constantine too. Yeah, I think that's going to be an Elseworlds. I think the Snyderverse is going to be in Elseworlds. Because let me put it to you this way also, it's more likely more people will be on board the Snyderverse now because they can have the more classic DC universe and then see it as more of, oh, this is a fascinating new take on DC. So it's not entirely like, this is all you want to watch. And then Lauren says, I watched this video saying Ezra was staying as the Flash and I was dying. Yeah, that's too much speculation. I don't think he's saying. However, here's the thing. There is speculation about Gal Gadot staying on as Wonder Woman, which, thank you, I would love that. But here's the problem with that. So she's staying on as Wonder Woman. James Gunn is going to have to answer why Henry Cavill is not Superman anymore if he's keeping some actors. Because either it's a complete reboot and no one stays, or you keep everyone. I'm sorry. I don't care if you want to write Superman.
To be fair, Diana is a millennia-old demigoddess. So you could use her likeness, Gal Gadot's likeness, in any capacity, and it wouldn't change that much. You can make her portray a younger Wonder Woman. You could portray her as an older Wonder Woman.
Because she's actually fairly young when you look at Gal Gadot.
Exactly. So that's one of the few you could get away with.
Yeah, but my point is that the audience is going to associate that with the Snyderverse. So you can't. This is not the situation where you can pick and choose.
I agree.
Yeah, he did make a really stupid. He gave me a stupid answer about why Cavill wasn't Superman anymore. Oh yeah, because he's younger. Because he wants to be Superman to be younger for his movie. I'm like, yeah, that is a stupid reason for it. You have something that everyone on the Snyderverse debate wants, and that's more Henry Cavill as Superman, and you throw it in their face.
And with the help of No Way Home, general audiences are becoming more aware of multiverse-like concepts.
Mm-hmm.
Just have these actors and use them like they're similar. There are certain similarities or certain parallels, but the actual characters in this new continuity are different than the one we saw in the DCEU. They're a few years younger. They're a little less experienced, but they're more hopeful. A compromise could have been made.
Yeah, you could do that. The general audience will not. I think people are assuming that the general audience would see them and see Snyderverse, which you not necessarily. And by the way, so in my opinion, as based on as he is in his tweets, Gunn being ahead now and making all these tweets, I'm surprised the suits aren't shutting him up. Oh, that's coming next. That's coming next.
Oh, they're gonna leave him to hang by his own rope. More than like worst case scenario.
I think what'll happen. I think the Henry Cavill thing is one of the decisions that's going to be walked back, or they'll say we're going to do it as an Elseworld. So most likely we'll see Henry Cavill back as Superman, at the very least as a Kingdom Come movie. So on that note, best shows of 2022. Okay,
not that many.
Not that many. I was about to say because you had She-Hulk, which we all know. Yeah. I was on 2 streams talking about with Nerdette's Newsstand talking about She-Hulk.
You took one for the team, buddy. You took one for the team.
I took one for the team. Now I will say, Peacemaker my opinion on Peacemaker changed. I watched the rest of it because I wanted to see the full director's vision. I wanted to be consistent in my argument. I still am not a fan of the show, but I have a higher opinion of it because I get what James Gunn wanted to do. And Lawrence says Superman and Lois. Hell yeah.
Kind of went down a little bit in season 2, but I respect it. It was still solid for the most part.
Tevia digs Stargirl, which of course. We got Peacemaker. Yeah, amazing. But yeah, there wasn't that much good comic book like content in terms of shows.
Before we go to worst shows of 2022, I will advocate for She-Hulk. That's surprising. But in terms of being a backdoor pilot for Daredevil Born Again and securing the rights for the MCU to use the Hulk characters, at least from a corporate standpoint, She-Hulk did what it was supposed to do. The story just wasn't good.
I agree with you. And then Caleb says, hey, I always say shows ain't good, but Moon Knight and Werewolf by Night were great. Moon Knight was actually very enjoyable. I still haven't watched the last 2 episodes. I just fell off of it. But from what I saw, I kind of liked. And then Tevia says Stargirl, Young Justice Phantoms, and Superman and Lois, and Peacemaker were my favorite shows. Yeah, those were all great.
Young Justice Season 4 was late 2021 and carried over to 2022. But I get your point.
I'll count it because it happened in 2022. So I'll count it. And Cyberpunk Edge Runners, I'm watching that right now, and it is so good. Oh gosh. And then Caleb says, I will definitely be watching Born Again, but I don't want them to tone it down. They're going to, because it's the
They're going
MCU. It's the MCU. Brown says 1899. Which
1989? Is he referring to Batman 89 or?
I don't know what you were referring to.
Oh, no.
And then Lauren says my top 3 is 1 Power Rangers Dino Fury. Okay, cool. Okay. Superman and Lois and Stargirl. Nice. All good choices.
Nice.
Excellent choices. This was also a very brutal year in terms of losing people, because when you look at all of the comic book and like pop cultural icons we lost like who was it? We lost
Hagrid.
Yeah, George Perez,
Jason
Tommy.
David.
Yeah, and Batman. So it was a rough thing. It was a rough thing. Was Falcon and Winter Soldier 2022?
No, mid to late 2021.
Oh, okay. I was about to say, because I enjoyed that one.
Miss Marvel was 2022.
I liked Miss Marvel more than I thought because I thought it was going to be horrible because I can't stand the character in the comics, but I was pleasantly surprised with how they did Miss Marvel in that. I loved it.
And fun fact, Miss Marvel Kamala Khan Miss Marvel was a self-insert. She's grown out of that. She's grown out of that now because she's had better writers. But for the longest time, when she first came out, she was a self-insert.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So so once again, the MCU has been making all these like really stupid characters like good, like Kate Bishop, Kamala Khan. It's like all the characters that I was so annoyed with are more tolerable. And then Caleb says, with my I stand with James Gunn tweets, most popular is can he bring up Power Girl? And I'm like, really? Well, all right then. Yeah, we'll see if he can do Power Girl. I don't think Power Girl would work because her costume's a boob window, so I'm not sure if
just put the House of L over it, and no one's really gonna care.
Yeah, you're gonna have to. To be honest, Titans season 3 so far, I've watched 3 episodes. I liked it, but I don't know what would happen in the future.
Brown, let me warn you. Walk away. Just skip the rest of season 3. Just walk away.
Yeah,
you'll thank me.
Yes, season 3 was not good. They made America Chavez great. Yeah, exactly. And this is a character whose catchphrase in the comics was "Holy menstruation."
Thank you for reminding me of that, Comics League. Now I got to vomit.
You're welcome. So, yeah, in terms of like we kind of answered this, I still think DC I don't know why I said 2020, but that was a mistake. But I'll change that right now. But it was like I still think that DC won 2022 because when you think about it, they had more quality over quantity in terms of what they did release. Because Marvel has a tendency to release and not care about it. That's why we had like 8,000 MCU shows that I feel like it's really mind-boggling that all these series and movies came out in 1 year.
Yep. I agree.
Mind-boggling. It's almost like, oh my gosh, guys, stop it. Where with DC, yeah, they've had a few misses, but in terms of everything, I'd say it was pretty freaking dope. Yeah. And
would you say Tim Drake's Robin's a shelf title or just a bad comic?
Both. I think anything with Megan Fitzmartin name on it is a shelf comic. Let's face it at this point.
Yeah, I agree, but God forbid I'm actually defending this.
This looks really cool. So they released an image of the toy, the Michael Keaton's Batman Batwing toy for the Flash. It looks really cool. I'm gonna try and pull up an image of it.
And while we're waiting on that, Megan Fitzmartin, she was one of those. DC just hired a lot of freelancers There's still a lot of freelancers. They don't really have any household names to stick with. Because take Dark Crisis, Young Justice, for instance. That book, God forbid, was any real relevance to Dark Crisis. I can't really say that was a shelf title. That was more of a social commentary. And I can't even say it's a social commentary because all she did was badmouth the comic book fans and the comic readers
Yeah,
for
exactly.
not liking her changes. First of all, you had no real setup. Second of all, you broke Tim and Steph pretty much off panel. Second, you pretty much ripped off the Harley Quinn the animated series, you bloody hack. And that's if editorial will even let you go that far by dragging Connor Kent into this.
Hmm. And Tevye says we all want to say Dark Crisis Young Justice was horrible. So here is the design of the Batwing for the Flash, and it looks really, really, really cool. I like that. I think it looks really dope.
At first, I actually thought that was the Injustice Batwing, from a super
It looks
movie.
like it. So, and let's see. Brown Destroyer says, I thought the Jon Stewart animated movie began impressive, but I didn't like its end, specifically the Hal Jordan stuff. Well, they were adapting the Parallax stuff, and they basically turned Jon Stewart into Kyle Rayner. So, yeah, I can see why you would not like that. I personally enjoyed it. I need Jeff Johns to do a Green Lantern series or a movie. I need his talent, not his personality. Yes, yes. We need that's another project I want Jeff Johns involved in, is the Green Lantern, because arguably you really can't do Green Lantern without Jeff Johns, because all the stuff that we take for granted as Green Lantern fans,
the last time they did that, we got GL 2011.
Mm-hmm. And
they were able to salvage. Okay, Brown. Common misconception. The Parallax and the Rise of the Emotional Spectrum, that was a retcon. In the original version of Parallax, pre-Jeff Johns, in the original version of Parallax, Coast City was destroyed in a tie-in from Reign of the Superman, and Hal Jordan just lost his goddamn mind. Jeff Johns came back about a decade later in Green Lantern Rebirth, established the Emotional Spectrum, established the multiple Lantern Corps, and how Parallax, the Yellow Lantern entity, corrupted Hal and sent him on a mad rampage. So that specific perspective on why Hal Jordan was done dirty, to an extent he was, I'm not denying that, but that mostly stemmed if you're taking the Jeff Johns retcon into account. If you're factoring the original Kyle Rayner origin and the original version of Parallax, it was pretty spot on.
Well, again, let me put it this way. The Parallax entity retcon in Rebirth was, I think, a way of explaining why Green Lanterns are weak to the color yellow.
Like, to be fair, it was one of the redeeming qualities of All-Star Batman.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I love that when he paints the entire room yellow. But let me put it this way. It's better than Alan Scott's weakness, which is wood. That's right. Wood.
Which is somewhat poetic given his recent revelations.
Yeah, I know. Which, by the way, started off in Elseworlds book and carried over into mainstream, which I'm like, oh okay. I'm fine with it, because it's like, it's not really a character I care about, so have at it. The one thing I will say is that most of all the cosmic, like DC stuff, he can work with cosmic stuff. So it can work. So if he wants to do like a Green Lantern project, absolutely do that. Have James Gunn with Green. What they should do is do Guardians of the Galaxy, but it's the human Green Lanterns. And let me give you the lineup. It has to be Hal Jordan, Hal, Kyle, John, Guy, Jessica, and Simon. That's it. Just do those. A Green Lantern squad, if you will, and do that. Or you can bring in like Kilowog and stuff, but I think a Green Lantern team movie that's like Guardians of the Galaxy could be really cool. Oh, the Rocket character is the Green Lantern squirrel. Chip. I haven't watched Constantine House of
You still haven't watched that, man? I recommended that to you months ago.
I'm going to watch it soon. Can Gunn work with DC Cosmic stuff, especially with the Anti-Monitor? Would he? Well, here's the thing, Tevye. Yes, I think he can. That's like years down the line.
You have to set that up.
No, they have to significantly, which is why when Walter Hamada came out and said, oh, we were building toward a Crisis on Infinite Earths, I'm like, based on what fact?
Hamada. You're not fooling anyone. You're not fooling anyone.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, dude. Based on what facts? We knew we knew that pretty much that Thanos was the big bad in Avengers 1, dude. Okay. He's doing Superman though, which is good on the focus, but hell yeah, make him do a Green Lantern, not on Earth whatsoever. Yeah. I think what they should do to separate it from the Green Lantern movie from 2011 is have it not take place on Earth whatsoever, except if you want to do an origin, do the Hal Jordan thing, but then have him just go into space and stay in space. That's it. There you go. I think that'd be really cool. And Caleb says, okay, so there. Lauren says, I hope James Gunn writes a Superman movie with his heart. I hope he doesn't. I hope, and I think he's not stupid enough to put in his really dumb humor on Superman. I mean, there are some characters that you can have a little more crudish humor, but don't make Superman. Parasite. Well, yeah, I expect if he writes a Lobo movie, I expect there to be like Peacemaker level humor. But let me put it this way: as long as he keeps Superman pure, I'm fine with that. Well, we'll see what happens.
All right, what would be a good range for a good Superman? Would you go as far back as Christopher Reeves, or would you settle for a post-crisis DCU type?
In terms of what? I'm sorry.
In terms of characterization, would you settle for full-blown
post-crisis? Because I don't think the Reeves characterization will work anymore. Because guess what? We did that. It's called Superman Returns, and it didn't work. So I think what they should do now, you can borrow elements from Christopher Reeves, but don't make him entirely the Christopher Reeves version, which that's been my thing from the very beginning. You can have Henry Cavill be the positive Superman. That's what we all want, but don't make him be the Christopher Reeves level of absolute stupidity. Have him be the post-crisis where he makes mistakes. He has sort of a dark side, because let's face it, nowadays the evil Superman concept is actually popular. Don't make him evil, but what I mean is that put it so it's like the people fear him, kind of like do what they did in BVS. And then Caleb says, I expect Gunn's written Superman to maybe have 2 or 3 stupid quips, but they'll be forgettable at best. Yeah, I don't think Superman's going to be making poop jokes. Let me put it that way. And yeah, Superman Returns was a really weird movie. We will be covering that on Comics League movie night one day. And then Tevye says, I say adapt Green Lantern First Flight animated movie, but make it live action. Yeah, actually, that's a really good point.
That's what they should have done with the first movie, but that's a separate conversation.
Yeah, and I think Gunn is smart enough, because here's the thing. Green Lantern is not really the concept, because with Green Lantern, yeah, you could have him visit Earth occasionally. Well, Tevye, no, it hasn't, because guess what? The Boys is super popular. And who's the main bad guy in The Boys?
But Homelander is not exactly in the spotlight as much.
No, but what I mean is that the evil Superman concept is popular with the general audience, because it's more realistic to have a being that's like absolute power corrupts absolutely. I'm not saying make Superman completely evil, but I'm saying have a Superman that's kind of dark-ish, kind of like in the post-crisis New 52 Superman is what they should do in the movies. That's it. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying do the evil Superman, because I think that even if Zach came back and did his new storyboards, I don't think he would do the evil Superman thing either way. And then Brown makes the point here. Superman has more to his character than being simply Christopher Reeves. And by the way, since you said that, you've earned this. Because he's right. And to quote Henry Cavill, Superman is more than one actor.
I agree.
I get he's technically a parody, but the general audience
is not going to know the difference.
They're not going to know the difference, Tevye, because remember, the general audience didn't know what The Boys were pre the show, because I didn't read those comics. I actually made the mistake of looking up a preview of them to see if there would be something I would be interested in reading. No, do not look up a preview for The Boys comics. You will get scarred forever.
And if you think the Invincible comics is dark, get through the first volume of The Boys.
But if you read the comics, you know why Herogasm was hyped up. Brown Destroyer says, when you actually read the Superman comics, you realize Christopher Reeves is very limited. Yeah, Christopher Reeves is not comic accurate whatsoever. He was to that era of Superman, but remember, that was like the tail end of pre-crisis Superman.
Age. That was like Golden Age, Silver Age Superman.
Yeah, but now, no. He's the complete opposite of what Superman is today. I got news for you. That's the way it is.
And just to establish a counterpoint, New 52 Superman, I'm just going to say it, New 52 Superman was a jackass. Now, we can go into...
He was supposed to. He was supposed to start off as a jackass, and when you notice near the end, he grew into the Superman role.
And yeah, the compromise could have been made of how you could have had pre-crisis or pre-Flashpoint Clark come back and actually mentor, kind of like be like the Nick Fury of the Justice League. We've talked about that on multiple streams and panels, but I mean, from a brand standpoint, the damage was already done.
Well, because what they could have done as a way of like DC metatextually saying we made a mistake is have the pre-new 52 Superman go, listen, dude, you're making mistakes here. This is not the way you're supposed to be as Superman. Let me help you and guide you. And then there you go. You could have said, okay, we made a mistake with Superman here. Let's have him be mentored. And I think that would have been a really dope story to do. And Superman also has is supposed to inspire us to be better, which is why I love the Superman being a father. Yes, I think normally we like roll our eyes at Tevye bringing up Super Sons again, but this actually, I want to bring this up because one of my favorite things they did with Superman, with like Rebirth Superman, they made him a father. They showed him raising his son, and in part, but essentially being the Jonathan Kent to his son, and that was they had to do new things with Superman. That's why I love John Kent when he was a kid, because we've never really seen Superman raise a kid. There you go. So
Val's son, Chris Kent.
Yeah, so Tevye, I'll back you up on that one. Absolutely. Even the animated movie, yes, the animated movie, exactly.
I'll give him that.
I actually have a problem with people who hardcore Christopher Reeves because they're not aware. Yeah, a lot of them are apparently think that Superman is this monolith. And by the way, Lawrence, that's why I love Superman and Lois. Yes, because Superman and Lois has the balance of that Superman that is positive, like Christopher Reeves. And yeah, it's like in that first image, he lowers the car and he goes, and the kid goes, nice costume. He goes, thanks. My mom made it for me. Yeah, that's Christopher Reeves, but he also has his dark, like more serious moments. And that's why I love that show so much. And the kid, which I thought made sense. No, it didn't make sense because they could have had a better. Can you imagine pre-new 52 Superman having to mentor another Superman? We've never had that before. And you could see the new 52 Superman become that symbol of a little more closer to what people liked. Granted, he would still be married to Wonder Woman, so I would be in favor of that. Thank you very much.
Is that the only reason you wish what could have been is because of Super
No,
Wonder?
because see, here's the thing. Yes, that's what got me into interested in DC was I was scrolling through Facebook and that had just happened. That issue had just come out where they first kissed, and it got me interested. But when I read because previous to really understanding the comics, I thought Superman was boring because he's like invincible. From what I could see from my role as a general audience member, I couldn't see the value of Superman because he was like, he always does the right thing. And that gets boring after a while. When I read the new 52 Superman, he makes mistakes and he's a more realistic take on the character. The Wonder Woman thing was just a bonus, but it was really the grounded and more modern take on Superman that I love. That's why I love Man of Steel so much. It made me love Superman as a character. And yeah, you get him raising the kids. Yes, exactly. Superman. That's why Superman and Lois is actually really my favorite CW show, because first off, it's the only one that arguably has not had a severe dip in quality. You can argue season 2 was meh, but it wasn't as severe as when you get to the bad seasons of Flash and Arrow.
Flash makes the old freeform shows look good. And
yeah, exactly.
And don't get me started on Arrow season 4.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but Superman, you know why I think Superman and Lois is so good? The filmmakers legit said, we were inspired by Zack Snyder. I'm like, thank you. Plus, they could have kept my Superman, who's married to Lois Lane and my boy, but you could have... Yes, exactly. They could have kept both and had both of the fans happy, but they just self-destructed and then, like, merged the two? I'm like, that made no sense to merge the two. Because what they could have done also, so they kill the new 52 Superman. what they then had to do in Francis Manifold's Trinity run is he had to earn the trust of Batman and Wonder Woman of Prime Earth. So that was itself another great story that they abandoned because they just decided to merge them. I'm like, oh, this sucks. And then,
and you can't really blame them, because why go through a character arc with an already pre-established character who stemmed from another timeline, a previous continuity, when you can just when you can just reestablish the old status quo or revamp it and just call it a day.
yeah, but here's the thing. It's just more confusing, and you end up alienating a lot of your newer audience that got on with the new 52. I was fine with Rebirth, except up until the point when they merged the two.
Again, not to be confused with Flash and Green Lantern Rebirth.
No. I'm talking about the Rebirth Initiative, because most of Rebirth I loved, because they gave Jessica Cruz her own comic, and I'm like, hell yes, which I'm still reading on DC Online. So good. I freaking love that. I'm definitely going to cover it on a Two Capes episode. In Smallville, Clark Kent felt like a more realistic American teenage boy. Yeah, exactly. That was the point. And Smallville was also pretty dope. Although I get the embargo stuff, but
the
when
bad
you start,
embargo,
and to arguably the Wonder embargo, because here's the problem: when you bring in such seedless characters, you don't mention Bruce Wayne or Wonder Woman because they're arguably his closest friends. What?
And they're the Trinity, not just in terms of DC, but
and the Trinity. You don't have them. At least have Diana Prince show up as Agent Diana Prince. They could have done that, but they didn't. I personally loved Superman Reborn. Superman Reborn is actually a really good story. So I enjoyed the storyline. I just hate the result. And yes, it's saving John Kent, but I'm saying they didn't have to put him in danger at all. They could have just not done that.
The Hellbat armor was a nice touch and a callback to Robin Rises.
Oh, the Hellbat armor is fantastic. I love the Hellbat armor. But my point is, Tevya, they didn't have to put John Kent in danger at all. Just don't do that storyline. There you go. That's it.
But would you really want to see a pre-Flashpoint Superman playing the Nick Fury role, kind of just babysitting?
Not Nick Fury, but maybe a more of a mentor role to the new 52 Superman. Yes, that would have been great. And you could have had maybe the pre-Superman having to learn also how to be a hero on this Earth, because this Earth is different than the one he left. So it could have been a really interesting storyline between the two. Plus, imagine John interacting with the new 52 younger version of his father. Again, there was so much story potential there. And yeah, I don't mean he would be like the Nick Fury. I'd imagine him be like the break glass in case of like emergency, like the Justice League faces a threat that's like, oh my gosh, we need another Superman. Hey, other Clark. What do you think of Superman Earth 1? I love Superman Earth 1.
Wait,
oh my gosh.
Are we talking about the Grant Morrison one, or are we talking about the... Okay, I think I know which one you're talking about now. Okay,
I'm talking about the one by
the
JMS.
New Earth Initiative. Okay.
Yes.
It took me a second.
That was so good. And obviously a blueprint for Man of Steel, but I love this. Am I alone in thinking Superman needing a spacesuit? Oh, that was stupid. Dude, that was dumb as hell. I'm like, what the hell? You're Superman. Why do you need a spacesuit?
In the DCAU in Justice League Season 1, there was a mandate to nerf Superman to make the other leaguers more relevant and give them something to do.
Yes, but spacesuit? You don't need it to nerf him to give him a spacesuit.
I agree. It was too far. I agree.
It was really dumb. I get making Superman more vulnerable, and I agree with that. But the spacesuit part was really stupid.
Hey, at least we got John Stewart X Shire out of it. So why?
And by the way, in the Justice League Infinity comics, which take place after the show, they get back together.
Vixen kind of breaks up, but Vixen kind of concedes and just dumps John.
And then John has a moment with Shayera.
Which is better than what happened in the Batman Beyond 2.0 version of events, where she spoiler if you haven't read the issue. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Excuse you. She gets killed by Shadow Thief. John ends up chasing him down, kills Shadow Thief in Retribution. The Guardians find out about it, kick John out of the Corps and take his ring in Retribution, even though you could easily argue it was justified. it was a justified hostage situation, and then John effectively retires, rebounding with Shayer, and they have Warhawk like a year later.
Sweet.
At least Vixen actually gets some proper agency and a resolution to the John, Vixen, Shayer love triangle, rather than just being fridged. And I hate using that term.
And Tevia brings up technically the new 52 Superman did return in the Sideways comics, which was the biggest, like, what the hell is going on here?
I think that was an Easter egg. I haven't gone back and read the Sideways comics. He's not a Peter Parker ripoff. Trust me.
No, he's not. He is clearly not. But oh my gosh, yes, the new 52 Superman does return, which I'm confused because I thought you literally merged. But it wouldn't be the first time DC does that.
I think it was just a cheeky Easter egg. Oh, American Alien Comics. Okay, they're pretty good.
I think it sells toys, though. Yeah,
it does.
Yeah, Superman in a spacesuit does sell toys. I get that. Yeah, they did nerf him way too much. And then, any opinion on Jace Fox, Batman, or Yara Flor? Because for me, I think Jace Fox is awful. Yara Flor is great. Jace Fox is awful.
Yara Flor is the best out of the three, hands down.
Of the three, oh hell yes. If you read her comic, oh hell yes, I love it. And first off, Jace Fox. Luke Fox. If you want a black Batman, you should have made Luke Fox Batman.
I get what they were going for. They were kind of making him a Terry McGinnis in the present day instead of the cyberpunk future. I get what they were going for, but the whole thing is redundant.
Yeah, it's so stupid too.
Because the point of Future State, the next Batman, was Jace stealing one of Bruce's suits while he's incapacitated during, not Joker War, with the Magistrate. What was that storyline called? It was so mundane.
Dark Detective.
Close. It tied back to with the Magistrate's rise. It was Scarecrow and Mira Nakano. Fear State. It was which really was just a background comic that could have led to that future. I get what they were trying to do, but outside of the context of Future State, Jace is redundant because we have his origin. We have even in Future State Gotham, we get resolution of him becoming the main Batman while Bruce retires. So everything for Jace Fox Batman is within the confines of Future State. You just created a main continuity version that's sent off to New York and is completely redundant. And I remember, and I think in the Harley Quinn comic, they tried to turn Luke into DC's version of Black Panther or Blue Wildcat, something like that.
And then Caleb says, to be honest, I like the animated Superman because it shows and tells you if you pay attention, he has to hold back his powers because he can put people in danger. Yeah, like in that Dark Side fight.
Yes, the wild card scene was an iconic moment, which Injustice Richard, we're not going to talk about that.
Which they may or may not make a reference to in Project Justice League. I hope you caught that reference, JJheat, when you watched it.
I did.
I was oh, I know what you're doing, Andre. and the way he says it too. And then Brown Destroyer says, I didn't like the fact that in the New 52, Rao was destroyed into a fraud pretending to be a god using alien technology. Who said that was the Rao?
That could have just been a false prophet, but that's a separate conversation.
That happens all the time. Yeah, before we Kryptonian mythology, specifically if you connect with the Vertigo comic Endless Origin. Yeah, who says that was the Rao? Which, first off, if you read JLA, that was so good. And then, yeah, Red Line in DC's Justice League Rebirth was their attempt at making a Black Panther-like character.
Pretty much.
Yeah, he showed up for a volume, and I don't think we ever saw him again.
Maybe he was in this. I think he was in not Tom Taylor, Tom King's Suicide Squad book. But I think it was
King wrote a Suicide Squad.
Hold on, I might be confusing him with Tom Taylor. It was with Wayne.
Yeah, because I think it was Tom Taylor's the one who wrote Suicide Squad.
Yeah, but I think he did make an appearance in Suicide Squad, but I haven't seen him in anything else.
Yeah, because it kind of bounced off the windshield, in other words.
But, like Kite Man.
Like Kite Man. Hell yeah. Except Kite Man actually got by the way, that's another show that I'll actually put up there as a good show. Harley Quinn. I'm like, yeah, that show's consistently been good. So
The tie-in comic sucks, but the show is good. So
the show is good. The tie-in comic, yeah, sucks. I'm like, no, I'm good. I'll
I'll catch
lose
the
those plot
recap in the
points.
next season. Thank you.
Yeah, and plus I'll just read about it online. But besides that, yeah, they 100%. I love that. So now I want to open it up to you guys. What do you guys? What's your favorite comic? What's your favorite? Who do you guys think won 2022, Marvel or DC? And while they do that, let's also talk about JHeat, what we're looking forward to in 2023 in terms of movies, comic series, and stuff. Because personally, I'm excited for The Flash really the most because it's going to be dealing a lot with the multiverse, and I'm interested to see how they do it.
Definitely, but in terms of comics this year, we're going to get Lazarus Planet, and just what we should have gotten this year was just a big rebuilding campaign, one hero at a time. Maybe a canonization of the Cadmus arc from JLU, because if you saw that epilogue in Dark Crisis #7,
yeah.
And before you, young.
By the way, when I read that, I was like, okay, I want to read that right now because can we spoiler it right now?
All right, give them 5 seconds.
All right, spoiler alert. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so apparently they're going to start hunting the metahumans now, all of them. And I'm like, this is going to be a dope story.
And before you Young Justice fans get butthurt, DCAU did it first with what is known as the Cadmus arc. The Light, the supervillain Cabal, that was just a toned down version of Cadmus. The only difference is it was a cabal of supervillains versus government officials. Other than that, there's no real difference between the two.
Yeah, but what do you think about the idea that like Amanda Waller is now going to be hunting all metahumans?
Long time coming. They tried to do that with the War for Earth 3, but let's be honest, Teen Titans Academy, I won't even say Teen Titans Academy was a shelf title. It just sucked. Tim Sheridan was completely in over his head.
Brown says, I'm looking forward to some of the side characters for a change. Too much Batman DC's promoting. Well, you're going to be happy because Batman does not show up in Dawn of DCU for like 6 months.
Even though he's technically the only character they can consistently sell.
Which, it's a gamble for DC. It's a ballsy move, but I'm happy that they're at least taking the risk. And like, first off, who's their first book that's coming out? First book. Who is it?
Superman.
Exactly. They're finally putting more of the emphasis on Superman because arguably he's the one that should get the emphasis because he started your freaking company and genre. So, but I'm happy that they put Batman like so far later. So because it puts pressure on those other books to perform because they don't have the Batman padding.
It's buying time for Lazarus Planet. It's buying time for Batman and versus Robin #5 to come out. And it's buying time for Chip Zdarsky to wrap up his second arc, which, spoiler for issue 130, is the disappearance of Bruce Wayne again. Instead of being disintegrated, he was just teleported to a parallel Earth and Tim has to find him. Like, read Red Robin. Go back and read Batman Reborn, Red Robin 2009. It's the same arc.
But also, isn't 130 the one where Batman falls from orbit and survives?
Falls from the destruction of the Watchtower, but yes.
Yeah. What? And wait a second. He's using his bat suit in space. You're telling me that bat suit protects you from space? My God, Chip. You're really... I could believe most Bat God stuff, but I'm sorry. I have to draw the line somewhere. We need Superman in the front line. That's what we're getting. That is what we are getting. And I think that was a DC-wide in terms of movies and comics initiative because even James Gunn said Superman is the highest priority. And I'm like, thank you. So I mean, we're actually going to get multiple Superman movies.
And what do you think of Jeff Johns' books, the JSA, Stargirl and the Lost Children?
I started reading JSA. It's really good. Like, it's Jeff Johns' usual work. So, of course, it's awesome. All right, so of the Dawn of DC books, I'm going to be picking I really don't care who plays Superman. Just tell a great story for the fans and audience. I'm tired of Superman being on the sideline. Yep. Well, first off, give me a someone that's believable as Superman. They have to pick someone who's buff because after the example by Henry Cavill, you can't pick a lean person playing Superman anymore. Sorry, that's not going to happen. That's not going to work anymore. So you're going to have to pick someone who's buff, but who, as long as he plays a good Superman, I'm pretty cool with that. I believe that DC Comics can write some pretty good Justice League Dark, but they're not concentrating on that. Yeah, they should concentrate on more the magic side. I think that that's part of DC that gets ignored. So there's so much of DC that's so awesome, but they ignore it so often.
Way too much.
Wait, because arguably you got bloody Constantine. Bloody hell. And JJheat does a way better Constantine.
Oh, bloody hell, mate. Bloody yes, wankers, the whole lot of you.
Thank you. I love that. Thank you. So yeah. So in terms of the Dawn of DC projects, I want to ask you, what are you going to actually be picking up? Because for me, I'm going to be picking up Superman, obviously. I'm going to be definitely checking out Doom Patrol, Mark Waid Shazam, both Green Lantern titles, because I want to see if Tamaki can pull off a Green Lantern.
Unlikely, but you are a brave soul.
Well, she had a pretty decent run on Detective, so it's not like she can't write any other stuff. But
I'm sorry, it's just that 12-week weekly detective story with Arkham Tower left a sour taste in my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
I am willing to give Tamaki a chance. Everyone deserves redemption, and whatever you call I Am Not Starfire was just a farce.
First, that was a children's book, so it wasn't even intended for us. And second off, she's written other good stuff before that. Her Wonder Woman run was actually pretty decent.
I remember it. That's why I'm willing to get some shine to Mariko Tamaki. I just think something cosmic like the Green Lantern Corps might be too big an assignment, but I could be proven wrong.
True. And obviously, I'm picking up Batman, but I'm definitely going to be picking up Mark Waid and Dan Moore on Shazam, baby. Hell yes.
Even though I feel a Shazam Wonder Woman tie-in, I feel like that's what Fury the God should have been, but hey.
Yeah, whatever. So what about you, JJheat? What of the Dawn of DC titles has you at least interested?
Definitely the Superman titles. I might check out Lazarus Planet, but I don't really think it's going to really amount to anything.
Mm-hmm.
Because they dragged out Batman and Robin's feud way too longer than it should have. Alfred even left a note for Batman saying that he was openly willing to sacrifice himself anyway. And yet we get it. Bruce did what he did in an act of grief, but I just felt like they were trying to rip off Injustice and turn Robin into a plot device. And I just felt okay. And the whole thing just feels redundant to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm definitely going to look at the Superman stuff and maybe Doom Patrol. Doom Patrol has me at least interested.
That's true. And Doom Patrol especially because I've never really because I'm not as versed on the character. I watched like an episode of the show. I need to watch more of that, but I'm interested in checking out that IP.
It's good.
And so Brown Destroyer asks, what do you think of Jacob Elodie or Wolfgang as Superman younger version? I've seen that. I'm like, all right. I'm waiting to see who they actually cast because I hate fan castings because they always cast people primarily on their appearance and not on their acting ability. It's like I saw someone casting Jared Leto as Green Arrow.
Oh God, no!
I'm like, no. Just because he looks like Green Arrow does not mean he should play Green Arrow.
I mean, I can see Jared Leto as the Creeper, but
oh hell yes.
But not Green Arrow. No.
Superman YA comics that is coming out could be pretty cool. There's YA comics for Superman? I didn't know that.
Oh.
But yeah, so it definitely, yeah, exactly. What in the world, Lawrence? I know. That's why I hate these fan casters and shippers, because they don't base their selections based on facts at all. Like, at all.
I'm not saying this is everyone, but shippers are some of the most shallow people you'll see on social media. I'm not saying all of them are, but a good chunk.
I had a debate with a Wonder Bat person. I said, okay, so how does Batman and Wonder Woman work? They said, because I said so.
Okay, how is that an objective argument?
Yeah, that's what I said. I'm like, give me an actual argument. That's not an acceptable answer. And at least I could give you a reason why Superman and Wonder Woman works. They just give me, well, Wonder Woman can change Bruce. Okay.
The chemistry is there. I will give them that.
In one iteration of the DCU. But here's the thing, though. Okay, so she could change Bruce and help him see more hope in the world. His best friend is Superman, and he's still cynical. I'm sorry. I doubt sleeping with Wonder Woman is going to really do much.
Hey, the flesh of the gods. You never know, man.
No, yeah, I knew you were going to go with that. But his best friend's Nightwing. I'm like, it's not going to have the effect that you think. I mean, and they said, I want to see the effect Wonder Woman has on Gotham. Guess what? She's not going to have any effect on Gotham because they're not going to put Wonder Woman in Gotham. They didn't do that. They didn't do that.
Like,
yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's like having Bruce take over the League of Assassins and have Bruce and Talia in Gotham together. That's just as outlandish.
I got news for you. When they put Superman and Wonder Woman together in the new 52, they didn't have her hanging out in Metropolis all the time. They had Superman and Wonder Woman doing their own adventures. Occasionally, they'd come together for the crossover book, but they don't stay. She wouldn't have any effect on Gotham. And again, my same argument applies. Batman is best friends with Superman, and Gotham still stays the hellhole that it is.
And Jared, I gotta ask this for the fans. I gotta ask this: do you just not like Lois Lane as a character?
Yeah, that too. I cannot stand her. Plus, it's gotten to the point where Lois adds nothing to the modern Superman character besides rehashing old stories. They've tried to do new stuff, and it always falls flat on its head. At least with Superman and Wonder Woman, they did new crap.
I'll give you points for honesty.
Yeah, I've been very vocal. I hate Lois Lane as a character. I've always not liked Batman Zatanna. I could see that actually works really well because she encourages Bruce to become more superstitious, or at least believe in things other than what he can actually, because Bruce is a very practical guy. She encourages him to see that by side of things. I could see Batman and Zatanna.
Whether it's DCAMU, DCAU, and I could argue that Bruce and Zatanna had even if you go by Chip Zdarsky's The Night, I could easily make an argument that Bruce and Zatanna had a fling during his training, but ultimately broke it off. And if Constantine ever found out about that, the first thing he's gonna do is make a Guy Gardner out of himself and pick a fight with Bruce out of spite.
Or he'll probably go, "I was the rebound guy for Batman." That I would love. Can they just do that so I can see that thing? And by the way, so Lawrence actually has a very unique ship, Green Lantern and Wonder Woman. And by Green Lantern, I believe he means Hal Jordan.
I could see it.
Which I could see that one. That one actually works really well. So I'll give you that one, Lawrence. Nice job picking a wild card. But yeah, I just can't see. Here's the thing. I've always seen Lois Lane. I'm going to talk about Lois Lane and Steve Trevor briefly, and then we'll wrap it up. But for Lois Lane, Lois is very abrasive to the point where she comes off as Captain Marvel in the MCU at times.
Okay, I'm not going to say it's that bad. I get a point. She's cocky, but she kind of has every right to be. One, she's showing some level of assertiveness in spite of her situation. Two, she knows her place. She doesn't really step out of it too much. She is willing to stand up to herself, but when it comes to metahumans, when it comes to certain situations, her husband's like right there. And the moment Clark steps in, it's go time. Yes, she is cocky about it. Yes, it's a bit obnoxious. At least in the pre-crisis, post-crisis, it wasn't as bad. Where you still had like Superman's girlfriend or Superman's pal. She at least had that was a separate book giving Lois and Jimmy something to do.
It could be because my era was the new 52, and if you read the new 52 Lois Lane,
Oh, she barely did anything. Let's be honest.
and she was extremely abrasive. So I'm like, yeah, I could kind of see that. So I'm like, nah, I don't. I genuinely, it's beyond Superman and Wonder Woman. I just don't like the character because of that. And Steve Trevor's a crazy stalker. He was the stalker throughout the new 52 and arguably Rebirth. He is completely ununderstood because he's like, there was a storyline in like during Rebirth where, do you know why Wonder Woman and Steve Trevor broke up? Because he was upset that she couldn't spend more time with him, despite the fact that he's knowingly dating a superhero Justice League member. I'm like, you are a moron. Okay, I'm just going to tell you that right there. That you
half of that was baggage from the New 52, from the Super Wonder relationship, and despite everything, Trevor was just the rebound guy when all was said and done. You have to, in that context, you have to understand.
No. This was after they wiped the Super Wonder relationship off and created that merged timeline. So as far as they know, that didn't happen. That's my point. Is that they did it in such a way where I'm like, yeah, you're a crazy stalker. And you're the most annoying Wonder Woman character of all time, to the point where whenever he's put in mortal danger, I'm like, just kill him. Just kill him. Thank you, Lawrence. You are my dude. You are my dude right there. You just earned yourself more points, dude. You are 100. And oh my gosh, Lawrence is racking up the buddy points tonight. I feel like DC Comics made a mistake not working on Sideways and Damage. Yes, too, because Definitely. They had great characters, great concepts. Because in the first like arc of Damage, he fights and beats Wonder Woman. I'm like, if there's a way to establish how powerful your new character is, that's it right there. And I
get where they were coming from. Damage was a ripoff of the Hulk. Only in terms of rage. I would say that version of Damage was more akin to Our Man with the not Mirakuru. Basically the material chemical he uses for his super strength, for his 1 hour invincibility and super strength. Mm-hmm. He was more akin to Our Man than Hulk. Mm-hmm. The only real comparison is in terms of rage.
True. And then Brown Destroyer says Superman and an older version of Barbara Gordon. No.
Okay, no. Now we're going down the rabbit hole. Now we're officially going down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, I've been watching too much Comic Story. Nice. But I'm going to say this one more thing. The reason why I promote Super Wonder so hard is because here's the thing. With Lois Lane, Superman's always going to be holding a part of himself back. Always. With Wonder Woman, he can be all that he is. He can embrace both the Superman, and he doesn't have to hide who he is whatsoever. And here's how I know that. That's how they got together, because in Justice League number 12, when they're atop the Lincoln Memorial, they have a whole conversation about how we can't be close to anyone because no one understands what it's like to have this double life. No one understands what it's like to be this character people look up to. No one knows what it's like to have to hide yourself from to hide a part of yourself, a very significant part of yourself from people. They both know that. So I think that they're able to be more full people and human beings, not just superheroes, more fulfilled people together, because they get it. They 100% understand it. And they understand what it's like. Whenever Superman would show up late for a date, the Diana would be like, I get it. You were being Superman. Totally fine with that, dude. Because there's plenty of times she's been late. See, that's why I love it, because, and that's why it's kind of funny whenever people say, but that's too obvious. So you're admitting that Superman and Wonder Woman works more than Lois Lane, huh?
But to be fair, a relationship is supposed to be a give and take. It's supposed to be complex. Well, and you're supposed to have that compromise. With Superman and Wonder, it's just with Super Wonder, it's just a very convenient fling.
But here's the difference. There is a little bit of conflict between the two, because Wonder Woman is more brutal and aggressive as a fighter than Superman is. And that actually puts some conflict in their relationship in the new 52, because Wonder Woman's more prone to killing her people than Superman is. Superman will still kill people, but it'll be like a supremely last resort. Wonder Woman has it more up the line. So it puts a little bit more like strain on the relationship because it's a conflict that they both have different like levels or the different the line that they cross is closer, in other words, if that makes sense. So it just depends on the writer, and there were plenty of ways they could have done that relationship had they not nuked it.
I agree.
Because if you read the first two arcs, oh my gosh, it was fantastic. Because first they deal with Wonder Woman actually having to figure out plus Wonder Woman's enemies make better Superman enemies. Finally, better challenge for Superman. Yes, because they do magic. I will never forget this part. This is my favorite part of Superman Wonder Woman. Favorite. It's when he meets Apollo. And Apollo makes some very crude remark about Wonder Woman, so Superman punches him. Apollo blasts him with sunlight. And Superman goes, "You really don't know anything about me, do you?" And then he punches him through a mountain. And I'm like, yes, that is so dope.
And I get where you're coming from, but you know what? I'm just gonna say it. They basically, in the New 52, basically turned Wonder Woman into essentially Shayra Hall, a badass warrior gal,
which she always was, though.
To an extent, but come on, she was always an emissary of peace. She always tried to preserve peace first. She was a diplomat first, remember, and warrior second.
What happened to that mascara in the New 52?
I get it. There were drastic events that changed her perspective. There was a reason.
No, what I mean is that she couldn't be a diplomat because the Themyscira was inhabited by snakes now. So arguably, she couldn't have that experience because the circumstances that promoted her to be a diplomat didn't exist in this universe. And so Superman can also unlock more of his side of using magic as another energy. That would have been cool. He develops some type of magic powers, or he learns to deal with magic more because the enemies of his girlfriend / wife are magic based. Plus, it would have been an interesting way to give a solid origin for Donna Troy because the New 52 origin for Donna Troy was horrible. And
I mean, Donna Troy's origins have always been a bit of a clusterfuck, but carry on.
But what they were, I can't back this up. This is a rumor by a friend of mine who's really plugged into this stuff. But the rumor is the plan for had they not like killed New 52 Superman and ended the New 52. The plan was that number one, Superman and Wonder Woman were going to get married, and then eventually Donna Troy was going to be their kid, like their daughter. At least that would have given a more like if you wanted to do a New 52 like origin, that's a way to do it.
That's basically All-Stars. That's basically the Dark Knight, right? Not Dark Knight Rises. The Dark Knight Strikes Again.
Except well written and not, and so Superman and Wonder Woman aren't as aggressive as the Dark Knight Returns Superman and Wonder Woman.
I'll give you that, but
my point is that see, you could have had another new story, and that's the thing. They did new stuff with these characters as opposed to this, because ultimately, here's the thing. Also, with Superman and Lois Lane, is ultimately boils down to the same stories over and over and over and over and over again. It gets boring.
I agree.
Now,
Wally and Linda versus Wally and Artemis. Wally and Linda versus Wally and Artemis.
I haven't really read Wally and Linda, but I like the Wally and Artemis relationship in Young Justice a lot because they annoy each other, and you wouldn't expect it because it came out of nowhere in Young Justice because all of a sudden they're making out at New Year. So I'm like, what the hell is going on here?
If you read the tie-in comics, you at least get a bit more setup for it. It was just a pure Spitfire dynamic.
Okay, but I like that. I thought it was pretty cool. Hey, what's up, PK? But I like that. But that's my point, is that I like when they did new things as opposed to the same thing over and over, because they've done the Superman Lois relationship into the ground for so long, and they keep sabotaging when they do new ideas like Young John and Superman having to raise his son. So, excuse me if I'm looking for when they did new stuff with Superman, because ultimately you can only do the Superman and Lois thing for so long before it gets stale. And let's face it, we're kind of at that point. That's why they undid the marriage of Lois and Superman in the new 52. That's partly why, because they were like, okay, so we want to update Superman. Let's do away with the marriage. Now, who would he be in a relationship with? The next logical choice is Wonder Woman. And I love how DC has aggressively in their writing said that Wonder Bat will never happen. Like in that book where a Wonder Woman and Batman are like trapped in another dimension for like 15 years, which by the way is a ripoff of a Superman and Wonder Woman story from pre-New 52, where Batman goes, "This won't happen. This will never happen." So I'm like, thank you, Batman, for being the good guy in this.
Again, Bruce was engaged to Selena. He would never openly cheat on Selena. With Talia, it was different because that was already a toxic relationship, a rekindled flame, and depending on your version of events, Talia took advantage of him. But again, that was a complex situation.
Even the DCAU, he goes, nope, not gonna happen.
Bruce is a philanthropist. He has to at least play the front. I mean, come on, you gotta make at least be tempted.
He flirts. I'm not denying that, but that's just Bruce Wayne. He does that to every female character. Wonder Woman's not special in that sense. And then Brown Destroyer says, do you believe that DC Comics will properly use Hell? He's such a cool concept with craze art dipping as such. I'm not as familiar with Hell. Are you, JJheat?
They don't get used that much. Like they kind of fell off the ether.
Mm-hmm. I know he was used in the new 52 Superman run as an excuse of one of the ways that Superman got poisoned. That's why he died. But as far as I know, I'm not really familiar.
They even with the merged timeline, they just kind of were never seen again.
Mm-hmm. Now let me ask you this before we log off: which character? Okay, so we know what the next 6 months of characters is going to be. But what do you want to see after that? What are some characters and teams that you'd like to see? Obviously, we're going to get a Justice League book. So I'm not even going to say that because that's obvious. But I want to see a quality team on Wonder Woman because she's the Trinity. She's in the Trinity, and she has arguably never not never. She rarely has a iconic run.
Her last solid run was Perez in the late 90s.
Maybe Greg Rucka, arguably.
Greg Rucka. But it kind of bled over into Amazon's Attack, and that was a huge pitfall for Wonder Woman.
What about his Rebirth run with the character?
It was an improvement. But it still wasn't doing Batman and Superman numbers.
Yeah. But yeah. And the issue is because they haven't put that many. See, here's the problem with writing Wonder Woman. I get it, is that no one knows what of her rogues to use, but she has an extensive rogues gallery that don't get used because the only ones that get used are like Cheetah, Maxwell Lord, and Dr. Psycho,
and maybe the woman who experiments on herself,
Poison,
Dr. Poison, yeah.
And maybe Silver Swan, but there's so many more. They could do the Greek gods. I've long said they need to do a story, even if it's in Elseworlds, where the
might as well just be God of War. That might as well just be female God of War.
Where the Greek gods go to war against the Justice League. I want that.
Might as well be female God. Might as well be God of War, Goddess of War. But okay.
Yeah, if I were DC, if I were in DC, that would be my event for Wonder Woman. But what's the one character or book that you would want to see? Oh, right. So yeah, that rip up. Yeah, exactly. That is that Batman book, The Brave and the Bold, is legit a ripoff of a Superman and Wonder Woman storyline. I'm reading this and I'm like, wait a second here. And then Pika says, from a certain point of view, Superman and Wonder Woman are separate IPs, and so is Batman. True, they coexist in the universe, but they were created separately, and DC will likely pair them with. I don't know. He's gonna finish that, but. What's like a DC project that you want to see in the dawn of DC that you think should have a revival?
A new Teen Titans.
Okay, that works. To redeem from their recent really bad runs, right?
Not even so much. Okay, Teen Titans Academy was pretty much their version of Strange Academy, but it felt like a pitch for a TV show. Like there was nothing really to ground it.
Oh, it
And
totally
the glass run, it had its moments, but again, it felt like the glass run kind of felt like a CW show. Like, I get it, you're trying to have this fall from grace with 5G, turning Damian into like your version of Magneto to clash with John Kent's Superman. I get what you were trying to do. Wouldn't be the first time a character got done dirty by editorial mandate. But the glass run was a mess from beginning to end. It took the Percy run, it was solid. It played a little too much into what the DCAMU was doing with Teen Titans and with Teen Titans versus Justice League, but it was pretty solid for what it was trying to do. You got the first debut of Calder in a while. Wallace West actually gets some agency instead of being redundant after the original Wally came back. The Percy run was pretty solid, but the glass run specifically in Teen Titans Academy, they will be forever remembered in infamy. And I know editorial wants to bury it, but as long as you use Roundhouse, Crush, God forbid you ever bring Jin back, but as long as you have those particular characters, the glass run is going to come up in people's minds.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so actually, before we lock off, I realized something, JJheat. When I brought you on the show for the first time, I never asked you certain questions that I ask all my new, I guess, guests, but now co-hosts. So I'm just going to go through these real quick, and then we'll go over the agenda for tomorrow. So, all right, who's your favorite superhero?
Batman.
Good choice. Marvel or DC? Which is
DC.
better? There you go. And favorite comic event?
Ooh, favorite comic event. I gotta say No Man's Land.
Ooh, that's a good choice. Oh, geez. Favorite comic book movie?
Live action or animated?
Both.
Live action, the Snyder Cut is definitely up there. I don't really have a particular favorite live action, but if I had to pick one, it would definitely be the Snyder Cut.
There you go.
As for animation, Batman Under the Red Hood.
Okay. As for me, it's the Snyder Cut and then Dark Apocalypse War.
Okay, that's a good choice.
Because it was solid. I was watching that and I was like, I'm surprised at how really badass this movie was. Super dope. So, and then okay, so those are all those questions. So as for tomorrow, the way this is going to work, there's no movie night tomorrow. Tomorrow at 10 o'clock p.m., we are going to have a New Year's Eve party to celebrate the new year. We may have some guests. So I believe we'll have all of the co-hosts on the show, and we'll be talking about the new year, what we expect. We'll be basically doing a lot of what we did tonight, except we'll be doing it with the full crew. I hope you guys can show up and share some New Year's cheer. We may open up the panel for a little bit to have some people come in and say Happy New Year. And before we log off, I actually want to get to a few of these comments. So what PK was saying is that DC will likely pair them with characters who originate in their own sandboxes. As long as that is the case, it's unlikely that DC is ever going to commit to having Wonder Woman end up with Superman or Batman, unless it's an Elseworld story. Mainstream stories are probably locked out. That's a good point.
That's a fair point. That's a good point.
And Brown Destroyer says, Wonder Woman should be written like a doctor version of Thor. Basically, secret identity as another persona, shape-shifting power. They kind of did that
to an extent with the 70s Wonder Woman show.
And when she was Agent Diana Prince during the Who is Wonder Woman arc, which is pretty dope. That it gives them more points for writers to write Wonder Woman. Yeah. And Lawrence Fair says, well, one of my 2023 predictions is coming true. And what is that, Lawrence? You can go ahead and drop that in the comments. And then Brownish Roy says, I feel like Wonder Woman having no secret identity is kind of limiting her storyline. Thor was popular as the Doctor in Marvel Comics initially. That's true.
True.
That's one point of Wonder Woman that they've never really explored to the fullest extent is the secret identity thing. They tried to, but
because it's redundant. It's literally redundant.
Mm-hmm. But here's the thing, though. DC does not like a lot of secret identities. I mean, they're just putting the Superman secret identity back together because they realized, okay, this is one thing we can't change. I love how DC is systematically de-bandisifying DC. I love it. It's so much fun. And then making Tracy Lynn Cruz, she's coming to. Oh, okay, sweet.
Oh,
one of my 2023 predictions is the full film reboot won't happen. Yeah, that's one of my favorite. That's one of mine too, and that they won't do. At least they'll do one movie to wrap it up. Just say wrap up your story, because they have to prove. Because let's face it, DC has to prove that they can finish a story. So as long as they give us like, okay, Kingdom Come, or maybe in the Flash they end it. Just give me a satisfying conclusion, and then we're good. I actually heard that they want to put the Henry Cavill Superman cameo back in the Flash now. So I don't know what the hell is going on with that. But my prediction is that they're going to start to walk back a lot of these reboots, because let's face it, everyone was royally pissed.
Yep.
You're just pissed off these Snyder fans. And by the way, I feel like I have to say this. When James Gunn was saying a minority, he wasn't saying Snyder fans are a minority. What he was saying is that there's a minority in the Snyderverse community who are toxic, which at least we have someone at the head of DC that is actually telling us that is actually designating that the toxic people are minority. Just leave the door open. I'm sorry,
whereas the Hamada and Sarnoff regime just slandered everybody.
Yeah, exactly. And then Lawrence said, just leave the door open for Snyder to come back. That's fine. That's totally fine. And I'm not sure why the cameo was removed unless it was at the end of the film. The Cavill cameo was at the end of the film. But I think they're going to put that in, put that back in. I think they're going to go back to like having Ben Affleck come back in Aquaman and stuff, and just go with that.
Oh,
so on that note, yeah, I think it's a good place to leave it. Unless you have anything else to say, JJheat?
My prediction, and this is a long shot, I know, Kathleen Kennedy, quote unquote, steps down.
That's not a long shot. That's been heavily implied. And yes, Lawrence brings up Hamada's problem, trying to be like Marvel. That's one. You can't make DC like Marvel. Say what you want to say about The Rock. He at least had the right idea. DC's not Marvel. You can't do that.
Even though his ego was his biggest hindrance, but hey, at least his heart was in the right place.
Let me put it this way: I hope the story about him denying a cameo in the Shazam movie is false, particularly his reasoning. I only play in the big leagues. Then why are you Black Adam? I'm sorry, dude. Black Adam is not the god of DC that you think he is, and we've said it on this show multiple times. But on that note, folks, stay heroic. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. JJheat, it was a pleasure, and I will see you tomorrow at 10 p.m. All right. Excelsior. Yeah, exactly. Excelsior. So let me get the conclusion.